Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode here at the Cusp of Freedom. I'm your host, Marvin Tchio, and on this episode, I have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Christine, and she will be guiding us through her story on why and how she chose the path she did. And in addition to that, we'll have a few discussions on some problem of the world and what she thinks we can do in our individual lives to make this world a better place or a better experience for those coming after us. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So, Christine, how or why did you choose to become a spiritual healer, and what was the drive factor that drove you into pursuing your podcast endeavors?
So I think it definitely chose me, but I just wasn't aware of it, that I was a healer. I think I've always had this type of energy of wanting to help other people, but I wasn't aware of my power. And it wasn't until last year when I was going through a really bad breakup. A lot of things were happening in my family. I was just really tired of not feeling happy, not feeling good, feeling less than, not having self-love. And so it was last year that I woke up and said, you know what, instead of me being the victim and blaming everybody else, I'm going to take accountability for what my role is in this journey. And so that's when I started really looking deep within to understand who I am as a person, how I work, and also how other people work. And I started reading a lot of books and just started talking to a lot of strangers, conversations, to really see how people's thought process was. And that's kind of what led me to understand that a lot of us are traumatized. A lot of us have healing that we're running from and distracting ourselves from. And once I kind of liberated myself from that by just being authentic and speaking my truth, that's when it hit me like, oh, this is my purpose. I need to help as many people as I can come into their truth.
Wow, that's pretty deep. So you said you stopped being a victim from your trauma, your traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
How did you realize that you were the victim, and what did you do? Or actually, do you think most Americans feel like are victimizing or playing the victim?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do, not even just Americans. I think a lot of people don't want to hold themselves accountable. It's painful, right? No one likes to look in the mirror and say, this is what I did to contribute that. It feels better to be like, you did this. It's because of them. And in a lot of cases, we are the victim, especially from childhood trauma. We're children, so absolutely we're the victim. But we forget that as we grow up into adults, we can choose what experiences and what reality that we have. We don't have to just keep allowing life to happen to us, and then we realize it's happening for us, and our experiences make us who we are. So while we are a victim and we need to honor those emotions, at some point you have to say the past is the past. What can I do to push forward? How can I be better going forward?
Why do you think? I think that's a question a lot of people ask themselves, but often end up still in situations where they find it hard to make progress, or they find it hard to find, I don't want to say motivation, but that inner thing. You know how you realize that it's been within you the whole time.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people find it hard to realize that. So what do you think they can do, or one can do, in order to realize that they have it in them? And maybe that will be like a drive factor that lets them realize that they don't have to be the victim, and they can look within themselves to find their purpose.
Well, I think everybody's awakening is very subjective and personal to them. Everyone wakes up when it's the right time. Sometimes we still need to go through the experiences, the trauma, the toxicity in order to wake us up. For me, it was just finally this last relationship that I was in, and that was me. I had a pattern of toxic relationships, and so with this last one, it really crushed me. It was very soul crushing. It was a lot of pain, and the pain is what woke me up. And so that's why you see a lot of people who come onto the spiritual journey. Usually it's a near-death experience, a death in their family, a divorce, something very, very painful, because that's what the universe does. It pushes us in so much uncomfortable pain that it forces us to really look at a different option.
Wow. So would you say that the universe challenges us or puts us through these lessons so that we can learn from them and awake from them and realize our purpose?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have several different chances to wake up. But some people need 5 toxic relationships. Some people need 10 toxic relationships before they finally get it that, oh, wait, I don't have to keep living this way. I get to choose now. I'm not that little kid anymore that feels the need to seek validation from our parents, aka our relationships, because a lot of times that's what we're doing. We're recreating scenarios in childhood in order to get that validation that we never got. But we don't realize that our partners, our friends, don't owe us that validation. We owe it to ourselves.
Wow. I mean, that kind of makes me feel, that kind of makes me think of like branding and how, as a kid, even like I remember in elementary school, if you came to school without like fake Jordans or Felines, like you would get made fun of, or I don't know. I guess like the way society brands clothes to validate or makes people feel like they're being validated. Do you think things like that from an early age helps trap the mind in like the validation mindset?
Absolutely. I mean, you talked about something materialistic as Jordans. So we're saying that a material, something outside of us, is what we're looking to for our worth, right? So if that's always the case, we're never going to be happy because our happiness is within. So if you're constantly looking for a person, looking for materials, looking for just anything that you attach that's outside of you for the validation and the self-love, you're always going to be searching.
What would you say to people that like to compare themselves with other people?
Oh, comparing.
In order to feel validated in one aspect or another. For example, like if you have I don't know how girls do it, but forgot me, if you have a prettier girlfriend than me or something, or if you have a nicer car, or if you're taller, or if you're better looking, what would you say to people that like to compare themselves with other people in order to feel validated?
Comparison is prolonging your suffering, because I'm never going to be you, you're never going to be me, I'm never going to look like this woman, or I'm never going to have these traits. And so when we can embrace our authenticity and realize that us being different is actually what makes us special and actually is our superpower, then you start to be like, why did I ever want to be anyone else? I mean, for me, growing up in America in the 90s, being a black woman, black little girl, was really hard. I was always comparing myself to the European standards of beauty. Am I ever going to have blue eyes? Am I ever going to have light skin? No. So then, if that's what I'm comparing myself to and that's what I'm placing my happiness on, I'm never going to be happy, right?
Yeah.
So I had to find my own beauty. I had to find my own hair texture, and my skin color is beautiful and what makes me different. And now I love it. I couldn't imagine wanting to be anyone else but me.
Wow, I think it takes an amazing different type of mindset to be, to come from this type of environment and be able to be able to put yourself outside of that environment and figure a way to get yourself in the right mindset such that you find your true purpose. I mean, I don't think it's an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. This journey is not for the faint of heart.
I think society places a lot of like different parameters within society. Like you said, like materialistics, for validation. Even social media, so you can compare yourself with others. There's a lot of different parameters that are placed in society to keep the mind distracted and to keep the mind unaware of to keep the mind unaware of who it can potentially be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think finding out, or like stop being the victim and like looking within yourself to know who you really are, I think is like a key first step to unlocking your potential.
Acceptance.
Just like acceptance of the cards you were dealt.
Can't change these things.
Of the cards you were dealt. Acceptance of the things you can't change. And I think that's definitely a key first step. Yeah. Okay, so how did you become a spiritual healer? How did you? Because I know why you did it.
Mm-hmm.
So because now how long have you been doing it? I guess.
So I've been intentionally on this journey for about 2 years, unintentionally my whole life. Like I said, I've always had this power within myself, but I've always shoved it down. I thought I was going to have a job in corporate America, which I did for 10 years, trying to appease my family and have a stable career. But meanwhile, I always wanted to have these conversations. I always wanted to go in depth with people, and I'm like, this doesn't match up with what makes me happy. And so I started living it. I started speaking my truth. That was how I got into it. I started writing poetry about my pain instead of hiding from it and trying to appear perfect and like I don't have anything, any baggage or anything. I started speaking about it because I realized if I'm going through this, a lot of other people must be going through this. And then once I started speaking my truth, that's when everything changed, because the feedback that I got, even though I was very nervous and scared of being judged.
Made you feel like you're not crazy?
Yeah, the feedback was like, oh my gosh, I needed to hear this. Oh my God. And that's when I was like, I'm onto something. So the truth shall set you free.
Yeah.
It does hurt. All those cliches that we heard growing up are true.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, it's all true.
So given that the truth does set you free, you think? I think the truth is one of the main things we run from, because the truth can be scary sometimes, and I feel like the world would be a better place if more people were just truthful with one another. Like we're not all that different,
No.
Like although we look different and we have different potentials and we're all unique, I do feel like we do go through this similar lessons that bring out similar challenges in one way or another, and we have similar baggages in one way too, right?
Exactly.
And I feel like if we're just more transparent, then being naive won't be looked upon as being a bad thing in society.
No, we can all learn from each other.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of sharing each other's stories. If everybody would just speak the truth, it would make the world feel a lot less alone. We wouldn't feel as scared to be judged because, oh, she's talking about it. Oh, wait, she just talked about that. And I've been so scared to talk about my trauma. And look, this person's just talking about it like it's nothing. And being authentic gives permission to other people to be authentic.
As well.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect.
That's very deep. Do you think one day we'll get to a time where there's so much authenticity and transparency that less people feel depressed, less people feel anxiety, and they need like they're alone?
Yeah, I think that's the way that we're going as a collective. I definitely feel a massive shift in the energy. We're going back into the feminine, more of a feminine energy, which is about creativity, nurturing, empathy, feelings, which has been a void in this world for a very long time, especially the U.S. It's run by very masculine, toxic masculine energy, and that's just the truth. And I think the more that even men are starting to come into their feelings and express themselves is creating a safe container for everyone, because whether I like it or not, men do run a lot of the world, and I hope that changes, because I think women do have a lot to offer with our nurturing side, our empathetic side, and men have that too. They just need to embody that more. We both have masculine and feminine energy, and it should be balanced within both genders, all genders.
I totally agree. I don't know, I have this kind of like obsolete viewpoint of like, if women ran the world, we won't be in war, because women know the pain of giving birth. I don't know, that's kind of like...
I love that. That's beautiful. War is not necessary. It is power trip. It's money. There's so much other things. They make us think that it's about freedom, but actually it's about keeping us more enslaved.
What do you have to say about... I don't know. What do you have to say about those that are in situations... Actually, that has to do with like making the world a better place, so I'm not gonna go there.
I love it.
But how do you what are some challenges through your journey of becoming a spiritual healer, and what would you say to somebody out there that also wants to become a spiritual healer, such that they know what to expect when they want to become a spiritual healer, and some advice that you would give them so that their journey to become a spiritual healer is a lot easier?
Just to first be honest with yourself. Before you start going out trying to heal the world, you need to heal yourself. And that comes with being honest with yourself, being authentic, speaking your truth, having uncomfortable conversations, saying no, stop being a people pleaser, and really honoring yourself first, so that way you're not projecting all of your trauma and insecurities onto other people. I realized in the beginning of my journey, I was still trying to distract myself from like the things that I was healing within myself. So I was trying to talk and tell everybody else what they should do. And I had to really take a step back and humble myself and say, no, who am I to tell somebody what they should do on their journey? I need to keep it focused on the self. And as healers, our job is to guide, not heal, and not fix. We're supposed to be guiding people to find their own way, because everyone's journey is different. And so if you're in that ego of like, this is my way and I'm going to tell you what to do and this is what worked for me, you're not in the right Yeah, you're not in the right mindset. This is just my experiences. If it works for you, awesome. If it doesn't, that's okay too, and I hope that you find your way.
Wow, that's so deep. That's a lot deeper than I don't know. That's very deep. That's very deep. Okay, so now that we've shined some light on why and how you became a spiritual healer, I'm just curious why and how you started a podcast. But you do podcasting too, right?
Yeah, so my podcast was actually created by me and my best friend to heal ourselves. This was kind of the first time of us both waking up around the same time. She's like definitely my creative soulmate because our journeys are very, very similar. Our trauma is very, very similar, and you'll find that in your journey too, that you'll attract your soul tribe and you guys will have similarities, which is important. But we started the podcast because we were just so tired of hiding, and we're like, what better way to like really break through the fear of judgment is to air out all of our dirty laundry to the world in hopes that, you know, people can resonate. And at the end of the day, our mission is bigger than us. It's bigger than my fear of being found out that I'm not perfect. Newsflash, none of us are. And once I really rooted in why I'm here, it was very easy because it's my mission, it's my purpose, and I wanted to help as many people as possible. And that came at the cost of me, you know, possibly being embarrassed or upsetting my family. I don't care about that anymore. What I care about is helping as many people as possible.
Wow, that's very deep. I think a lot of people run away from social media or from, you know, being on like a podcast or something because they feel ashamed of, like, you know, their dirty laundry or something like that. But I think it's also a very good way to, you know, free yourself or whatnot. For those of you who don't know, Christine has a podcast. It's called The Elephant in the Room. You can check it out on Spotify. I will leave a link in the description below. Yeah. So now that we've spoken on why and how you became a spiritual healer and a podcaster, I do have a question about what you think some of the problems of our world are. And what you think we can do in our individual lives such that it has like a domino effect to make the world a better place or a better experience for those coming after us.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems in our world is that we lack compassion and empathy, not just for each other, but for ourselves. And I've realized that a lot of our judgment is projection of what we don't feel comfortable to talk about. So if I don't like my hair texture, for example, and I see someone rocking my hair texture natural, if I'm not comfortable with myself, I'm gonna say, ugh, her hair is so ugly. Why would you be wearing it like that? That's just a projection of how I feel about myself.
Interesting.
But instead of me being able to just hold myself accountable and say, I don't really like how I look, I'm putting it onto somebody else and trying to bring them down. So if we can have more compassion and empathy for the things that we're struggling with, it also gives us the ability to have passion and empathy for other people, which in turn would stop a lot of the hate that we have, that you see on social media and all the comments. All those negative comments are people that are hurting, little children that are hurting.
Wow.
In adult bodies.
So basically, anybody that's not empowering other people
is hurting.
Or if anybody that's like trying to put other people down to make themselves look better are probably hurting within.
Yes.
That's very deep. Wow, that's very true too, I think.
Yes.
Wow, that's some good advice. Okay, so so I guess that's all I have, but is there any last word of advice you would like to leave the audience with today? Something they can take with them and implement within their lives as well? It's something like, you know.
Yeah, no, kindness goes a long way. A smile, a gesture. If you're wondering how you can contribute to the world, I know the problems seem really big and that we seem really small, but as a collective, if we're just more kind and honest and just more forthcoming towards people, that's going to really change the trajectory of people's day and lives, and it's a ripple effect. So just be kind. Treat people how you want to be treated. It's such a simple saying, but it's the truth.
Wow. I can ask anything more from you on this podcast today. Thank you so much, Christine, for coming. And it's been an immense honor having you here. And thank you so much for all the great advice you've given on this podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, stay tuned, guys, for the next episode.
All right, thanks.
I wonder how long that was.
Oh, that was fun.
Just 20 minutes, just as good.
Dang, that was good. That was to the point. I love these little things. That was awesome.
You like it?
It was great. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it was great. I like the advice you gave. I think it was very, very, very in depth. I hope people listen.
Oh, don't forget to stop on your computer.
Oh, yeah. I hope people listen because that was very, very in depth. Like,